Lately, there will be some hitches here and there. The GAMA story, for me, has been a very impactful one. And so it will be difficult to actually get the bad. I am someone, in fact, the previous speakers have spoken a lot about the GAMA project, how it has impacted life, and undoubtedly, it has actually impacted life. So I will not be touching so much on the GAMA project from this land, except to say that the GAMA project has really impacted my life as a journalist. I am the field type of person. I want to pick my stories from the field. I want to hear what the ordinary person there is saying. If there is a sanitation problem, I want to see how that sanitation problem is affecting somebody's life. I want to see how women are affected. I want to see how children are affected. I want to see how the public is affected. And that is what GAMA stands for. And so I found it very easy relating with the GAMA project. In fact, there have been a number of projects that sometimes they will even contact you from behind and say that, oh, we want you to do ABC for us on this. Sometimes I'll start a month, I'll back out. I recently backed out of one like that. They want me to do, maybe I don't know whether to call it advocacy or to paint a picture about their project or whatever. But they would want to dictate to you what content you should generate. If you design your story, I want to see the story before it gets published. From my almost 5 years experience with GAMA, there has never been any time that either the coordinator himself, Kapo, Crunchy, or any other person from GAMA called us like, Timothy, let me see the story before it gets out there. No. And that is one thing I respect GAMA for. We have a policy at Graphic. Your story doesn't get seen by the other person before it is published. Unless, of course, it is content for sale. In which case, the people bought maybe space. You are only doing the story for them. They have the privilege to see it. But there have been a number of organizations that will call you. They want to see the final product before it gets published. And GAMA has never done that. And in fact, I'm so grateful to have been. And GAMA has actually touched my life. Watch reporting is something I love to do because it makes me get closer to the people. It makes me get to know what the ordinary person goes to. And in fact that over 44,000 household toilets have been constructed is so refreshing. Which project can be more impactful than this? I remember those days when the Kaneshie first line gets flooded anytime it rains. The Malam Junction area, the traffic there was so heavy because of the flooding situation there. And I remember when GAMA started addressing that flooding situation with those drains. Couple will always call, oh, team, can we work on a story around this without imposing that idea on you? I think there is a storyline here. Can we work at it? And he will never ask you for the final product. And I think if I want to stand here and tell the GAMA story, it will take me centuries. But for me as a journalist who wants to make a positive impact, GAMA has actually sharpened my ability, my capacity as a journalist. I'm able to get story ideas. I'm able to get the right sources. Sometimes I'll be working on a story, I pick up a phone call, I call engineer, oh yeah, I'm available. And we sit in for an interview. Sometimes I call Mr. Crunchy, oh, can we get someone to speak to on this? He quickly does it. And we go, and even sometimes he mobilizes resources for me. I remember there was a time, in fact, a number of occasions, I wanted to go around and do a story. He was like, oh, I'll make a vehicle available. I remember I went with Ima. We went around without actually asking you, do this, do this, do this. He made a vehicle available. I moved around. And he didn't even have the privilege of seeing the final product until the story came up. And so that is one thing I would like to commend GAMA for. Not forcing your ideas on journalists, helping to build the capacity of journalists to report well. In fact, the capacity building programs you have, especially at the end of every year, it opens up our minds. It gives us diverse perspective from which to approach our stories. And in fact, we become more of a family. We relate with each other, and if they don't tell you that this is a GAMA staff and this is a journalist, you would never know. And that relationship has actually helped me in particular in producing myself, because I love to do a lot of features. And if you are doing feature, it means that you have to speak to multiple sources. And GAMA has actually grounded me in that particular lesson, and I'm so grateful. I don't know if, this story, for instance, the GAMA project, a major stop towards addressing the flooding, perennial flooding in Accra. We are all, none of us here is a stranger in Jerusalem. We know how Accra gets flooded anytime it rains. I wanted to do this story, and in fact, with the help of GAMA, I was able to pick this story from the human angle. Anytime I'm doing my feature on sanitation and other welfare sector, I always try to pick the human angle based on the capacity building I got from GAMA. Because you cannot be telling a story about sanitation without picking it from the human angle. I remember there was an old lady I went with couple and this to speak to the person in Medina. They are always able to get, maybe I'm doing something on biodigester. Couple, can you get someone who has used biodigester so I can speak to him? Goes, oh yeah, I know of this person here. I know of this person here. And it makes the work quite easier. And so because of that, I'm able to get a lot of human interest angles to report on. And I think that as journalists, this is one of the projects I would like to recommend to any other person, any journalist to be on. Because apart from broadening your scope, it gives you a lot of sources from which to write your stories. They will not impose their ideas on you. You have the privilege, the freedom to write stories, to dance around it, and the fact that GAMA is contributing significantly to SDG 6 is what actually gladdens my heart. In fact, I think I did a story like that, achieving SDG 6 through the GAMA way. And I did that story, I think it's here. Yeah, achieving SDG 6, the journey so far with GAMA. And if maybe I could have just been telling GAMA had done blah blah blah, but in this particular story, I actually linked it to the 2021 population and housing census, which actually indicated that there has been a significant improvement in terms of open defecation, in terms of access to toilet facilities. And within the past 5 years, you cannot be telling the story of access to toilet facilities without mentioning GAMA. And so I spoke to the coordinator, he gave me his other multiple sources, and they all gave me their perspective. And so I think that GAMA is a very good initiative, and I don't think the World Bank will be putting money into the GAMA project if it is not making the desired impact. As to whether there are any bad, this thing I wonder, but except to say that the bad.
No, I didn't say bad.
Oh, the not too good. Except to say that with the biodigester, I would like to say a few things there. I think it came up strongly in the article I did on the biodigester. I did something on the this particular feature. The biodigester, how biodigester is transforming lives, and the fact that even in slum communities you are able to set up the biodigester there, and the fact that it is a new technology that can be imbibed and scaled up across the country. However, there were the other side of it where maybe there are parts in the system that are also trying to imitate and doing a shoddy job. In fact, it was one of the things that actually came up. And so, and thankfully, there's a policy that has been developed, a policy on how to install the biodigester. So I would like to recommend or to suggest that the GAMA, once GAMA is into biodigester production, and any biodigester you see in town, people will link it to GAMA. So I would like to recommend that maybe you take both steps to create more awareness, so that if there's a way of taking the cracks out of the system, so that the biodigester technology will actually come to stay and stay well. And so for me, the lessons are good. GAMA has improved my writing skills. GAMA has exposed me to a lot of sources, and GAMA has broadened my knowledge as a journalist. And I will continue to tell the war story from the GAMA